Welcome to our Meet the Candidates for the City of Weston, Commission Seat 1 for the Weston, Florida Chamber of Commerce, the Miramar Pembroke Pines Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Pembroke Park West Park Chamber of Commerce, and the Business Partnership of Davie Cooper City. We are now having the candidates enter the room. Good evening, and thank you for being with us here today. It is my pleasure to introduce the three candidates for Commission Seat 1, Mr. Chris Eddy, Raphael Pons, and Mr. Jason ZAUDER. We'll start with introductions, 1 minute introduction. We'll start with Mr. Eddy.
Good evening. Thank you for hosting this. My name is Chris Eddy, your candidate for Seat 1, Weston City Commission. And I'm honored to be here tonight, not only with Chamber of Commerce, but with my fellow colleagues. I'm a retired Brigadier General from the United States Air Force after 32 years in the active duty and the reserve side. And I'm also retired from the FBI, where I led a 160-person high-performing team right here at FBI in Miami. Currently, I'm an award-winning FIU professor right down here. It's in South Florida, teaching national security, foreign policy, ethics, and intelligence issues. I have a PhD in leadership and organizational change, which is management. And for service, I'm an active Rotary member, work on veterans issues. I'm also a board of directors at the Prestige Club of South Florida, which helps disadvantaged Broward children. And I was a former board of director at the Freedom Veterans of America, looking at South Florida veterans. And I've also worked in the detention ministry of St. Bonaventure Church, which conducts jail outreach. I'm very proud to have the support of Republicans, Democrats, and Independents for this race. I look forward to the discussion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pons. Hold on, Mr. Pons. I see that you're using a phone. You need to unmute the phone. Mr. Pons, you're still muted.
Okay, now I'm unmuted.
There you go.
Ready?
Go ahead.
My name is Raphael Pons. Everybody calls me Papa. For more information about my background, more detail, and education, please go to my website, papaforcommissioner.com. Tonight, I would like to briefly share with you some of my background and my wish to share my experiences, both professional and residential, and to apply to the city needs and the challenges that lies ahead of us. I have been a Weston resident for over 30 years. I have raised a family, 3 daughters, and now 7 grandkids. We came mainly, like many of you, for the schools, and we discovered paradise. And I want to keep Weston as it is, its best, safest city to live in Florida. Have sustainable development, no overdevelopment, low property taxes, high houses, property values, and in addition, support the safety of our schools. To be continued.
Thank you, Mr. Pons. Mr. Zauder.
Thank you, Robert. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jason Zauder. Actually, my first experience with the Weston Chamber was years ago, attending a Young Entrepreneurs Summit for high school kids, where they came and did like a Shark Tank style competition for their business ideas. So I appreciate the Chamber's emphasis on entrepreneurship. As an accountant and a business advisor, I certainly appreciate those qualities. That's what I do for my day job. And I'm running for Weston City Commission because I want to put Weston residents first. Public safety is my top priority. I've got both my kids at Gator Run Elementary School here, so I'm always going to be an effective advocate for our schools. And then being an accountant, I want to make sure that we maintain a lean, disciplined budget. On top of those priorities, some new ideas I would like to implement as a commissioner would be to create an education advisory board so that Weston parents have more involvement in our A+ schools. Second, budget permitting, I would love to see the city start a senior staff person, an economic development director, someone who would recruit and retain businesses, apply for grant funding, and help our local businesses, especially in especially in challenging times like these. So I'm not working or campaigning. I'm very involved with the Rotary Club here. I'm a PTA dad at Gator Run. I'm a room parent, school advisory council. So I'm a community activist as well. And building a lot of support for my campaign between endorsements with the Police Benevolent Association, professional firefighters, Broward teachers, and looking forward to a great discussion tonight. So thank you very much.
So we're going into the question section. When you'll have 1 minute to answer the questions that we bring up. You will see me raise this yellow card. When I raise this yellow card, that means your minute is over and you need to close your comments. We want to try to get back on time with this, but we do want to make sure that all of you are heard, and at the end, you will have 3 minutes each to do closing remarks. So the first question is you'll all have the same questions. The first question will go to Mr. Edie first. This is the question. While some businesses have seen a bump in volume during COVID, many are struggling in the current climate. How will you work to support businesses during this economic climate and help them try to keep their doors open?
Thank you. First of all, I think the city was slow to react to the COVID and to help out the business. We need to be more proactive. And as far as outdoor seating, what they did, it just took way too long. And I would have pushed back a little bit on Broward County and how they were helping or not helping actually businesses. But overall, we need to take a longer term view. I'm very happy that the city didn't touch its disaster management fund, which is currently $45 million to plug holes in the budget. But we need to take a longer term view and appoint a business development manager to be the business people's point of contact with the city. We've heard so many stories talking to dozens of business people where they got to contact the mayor or contact the commissioner, someone they know to help expedite the permitting process. It's just not a good way to attract or retain business. And that business development manager would also reach out to help attract and recruit new businesses to Weston and reduce the sometimes cumbersome permitting process. And that's the other thing I'm going to look at is the permitting process, which tends to be long, drawn out, and in some cases unnecessary.
Mr. Pons.
Yes, thank you for the question. As I said before in another forum, I think that we need to start with the businesses, small business, medium, and large. As we know, recently, Ultimate Software was bought by private investor UKG, Cleveland Clinic, and all. We need to find out what are their needs. I think that presently, the commission has done good by expanding areas of parking to give additional spots for restaurants so that they can have outdoor seating. But we need to communicate both ways with those people that are out there, some of them suffering, others don't okay. But for example, the UKG situation, they have probably 8 buildings now, the largest buildings in Weston empty. So we need to meet with those people to see what the future what is in the future of their plans. For what I have heard because of friends is that they're planning in January.
You could finish the sentence.
They're planning in January to bring back people into the job, but thank you.
Mr. Zauder.
And I touched on this earlier, but one, just I'll certainly be using my accounting expertise to make sure that our budgets remain lean, they remain disciplined, especially as we go through COVID and have these expenses to absorb. I've been learning a lot, and not just learning, I've actually been acting on what I like to see the city do. I feel like the city of Weston does need to be more proactive in helping residents and small businesses alike get through this pandemic. For example, I was reading the City of Hollywood has a wonderful program where grants of up to $5,000 are available to businesses of 5 or less employees. If they've been affected by COVID, there's an application process. Deerfield has a full-time economic development person that's reaching out to local businesses to see what they need. Now, this is something that I've been doing, talking with small businesses, coming to chamber meetings, of course, learning from other cities, and I've already started this, so if I'm lucky enough to be elected commissioner, you can rest assured I will hit the ground running to make sure that we are drawing down any and all COVID resources, because we only have until December to be reimbursed from the county for up to $2.4 million that Weston has allocated. Thank you.
This next question will start with Mr. Pons. Mr. Pons, many cities across the U.S. are seeing an increase in property crime and violent crime as a result of economic turmoil being faced today. How will you work to ensure we do not see the same challenges in Weston?
A very good question. I'm presently volunteer with the Broward Sheriff Office as a citizen observation patrol. I have good communication with the newly assigned Captain Cavalier, and I think that in Weston, based on the statistic that we have looked at, we haven't had any of those problems that other cities are having. The way to deal with that is not by defunding the police, but it is really to assigning some funds for being preventive, to train the police so that they can be smarter in the way they deal in the case that the occasion occurs. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. ZAUDER.
Sorry about that. Yeah, again, public safety will be my top priority. All these wonderful things about Weston, the A+ schools, the high quality of life, the amenities, none of this matters if the people here feel safe. And the Broward Sheriff's Office does a wonderful job keeping us safe, including school resource officers. I'm glad that Weston has got SROs at every public school, including our charter school here. I fully support the 113 or so deputies we have here in Weston, and I work with them to make sure that they have all the resources and the tools that law enforcement needs to get the job done. The gentleman that I'm sitting with, we've met with the Police Benevolent Association. We've met with the Firefighters Union. We all laid out our plans for how we'd act as commissioner, and those organizations have endorsed me. In addition, I have the endorsement of Broward County Sheriff Gregory Toney. Obviously, we contract with the BSO, so that contract is a priority among all the contracts that the city has. But those organizations, Police Benevolent Association, professional firefighters, the sheriff, they share my vision for keeping Weston safe.
Mr. Eddy.
Thank you. I'm happy to have the support of the Fraternal Order Police. I've worked with law enforcement my whole career, not only with the Air Force, but obviously with my several dozen or so years with the FBI. First, there will be no defunding of the police in Weston. I'm so glad. The first person I met with actually was Chief Butler after I decided to throw my hat in the ring, and I'm glad they're starting, they were pre-COVID, to put the SROs back in the classrooms to interact with the children. They're there not only to keep the children safe, but also to interact with the students to help foster better relationships. Currently, Weston contributes $1,000 to the Explorer program. I think we could do more of that for that improved interaction with middle schoolers and high schoolers, again, taking a longer term approach. The public safety is about 32% of Weston's budget. It's very solid, but it's middle of the road as far as all Broward cities go. So by no means are we overspending for public safety. So I would like to make sure that we maintain those community relations with those, not only with the students, but with the public at large. And the Weston BSO office actually leads Broward's Walk and Talk program and the number of community interaction that those officers have. So safety and security, number one. Thank you.
Mr. ZAUDER, this question will start with you. The economic challenges presented by COVID will unquestionably impact next year's city budget. State sales tax distributions have declined, and another shutdown will only exacerbate that situation. What will be your approach to balancing next year's budget, and what impacts on services or taxes will you work for?
Thank you. That's certainly something that's always been on the forefront of my mind. I was just reading the statewide forecast for revenue, and yes, as you might imagine, it is quite dire. Luckily, Weston is in good financial shape. The city manager and the CFO, they have guided us through tough times before, and from my readings many times over the budget, we are in good shape. We still have plenty of money in reserve. However, I think we do need to be more proactive. At the risk of repeating myself, I do think the city would need, budget permitting, an economic development manager so we can recruit and retain businesses, but also make sure that these businesses are healthy, they're thriving, and so that our business tax receipts remain healthy, because that's certainly something that I want to look at. If local businesses say they need some kind of regulatory relief, I'll be happy to look at that. But for right now, my concern is growing the pot, is recruiting more wonderful businesses here like Ultimate Software, so that we do have that strong base, that strong economic base that'll get us through these tough economic times.
Mr. Eddy.
Thank you. I'm very glad to see that they were balancing the budget. There were some cutbacks, but mostly just small operational cutbacks, nothing that would impact the residences or the safety and security of Weston for this next fiscal year's budget. As I mentioned, I'm glad they didn't tap into that disaster reserve fund, or they also did not tap into the credit reserve, which has to be about 10% of the operating budget, non-capital expenditures. So Mr. Decker and CFOs are all doing a great job at maintaining those cash flows. Now, again, longer term business development manager and just a better outreach to the businesses. I just got a great email the other day from a long-standing business in Weston who appreciated that I reached out to them and said it was the first time in 20 years that any candidate or politician actually reached out to them to ask their advice on how to improve business relationships instead of asking for an endorsement or for a financial contribution. So that was good to see. We need to do more of that, and that will happen when I'm elected.
Mr. Pons.
Yes, I had a meeting with Don Decker about a month ago and went through the numbers. He was very, very helpful and knowledgeable. We're in good position financially, and we have enough emergency funds to be able to go through this pandemic. The thing is that we need to find out from business what are going to be the needs so that we can put them back in their own business in the shortest time and not have to be continuing subsidizing any type of business. Also, we should be able during this time to start looking and attract other businesses because we will have empty spaces definitely after this situation. But our financial situation presently is very solid, and I'm looking forward to the new budget. Thank you.
Mr. Eddy, we'll start this last question that I have with you. What do you see as the greatest need in Weston, and how will you address it?
Well, safety and security, as we already mentioned, everything comes from that. While I was walking the town, I've been to over 14,000 homes, talking to hundreds and hundreds of people and dozens of businesses. They all mentioned safety and security. Some mentioned property values, but that emanates from the safety and security and everything else that we have in Weston. I would say the business relationship climate, as we've talked about mostly tonight, it needs to improve. We need to improve the permitting process, not only for businesses, but for homeowners. It could take 6 to 9 months to open up a business here in Weston, where in other cities it takes 3 months. Unfortunately, I've heard from a couple businesses that said they are relocating just because of the onerous regulations and the permitting process to do anything here in Weston. And as everybody knows, anytime you have a month without business, it's very difficult to maintain that business without that revenue. So we need to improve the climate with business as well as maintain our safety and security. Thank you.
Mr. Pons.
Yes, I think that the key in Weston, first of all, is to continue having the city being the safest and best place to live. Once we have had that, we will attract other businesses and continue proliferation of good businesses and businessmen in the city. We have to support our school. It's not much that we can do by raising funds and so on. It's good to help, but the school board reigns the school board. So we really have to concentrate on supporting the school, like with the SROs, with safety in the school, so that our schools continue to be of the best quality AAA in the nation. But safety, safety, safety will be the thing that will keep us moving ahead in this pandemic.
Mr. Zauder.
And thank you again, Bob, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting us, and thank you to Chris and Papa for, we're all actually first-time candidates, so thank you for running. So I would say safety is our top priority, but I feel like that need is met by BSO. I certainly support them. So to answer your question, our greatest need is making sure that we can help our residents and businesses keep their jobs and put food on the table. I've been in so many meetings where I'm the only person from Weston that's representing this city, and it's amazing to me. The city has been allocated $2.4 million in expenses we can get reimbursed by the county. A little $400,000 to $500,000 that specifically for small business assistance. At the last commission meeting, the commission passed their plan, and literally the budget page for that was blank. The project timeline was blank. I support our city commissioners. They're doing a great job. I feel like our leadership is being complacent here. There's money out there that'll help our businesses keep the doors open. And if there is a plan for how we're going to use that money, the commission certainly isn't publicizing that in any way. So I've already begun work on this, and I want the people watching this to know, if I'm fortunate enough to earn your vote, I will be hitting the ground running, making sure that any and all resources that are available are drawn down and are supporting our residents and small businesses here in Weston.
Okay, this is the last part, is closing remarks. You have up to 3 minutes for closing remarks. Mr. Pons, we're going to start with you.
Great. I want to start with telling you why should you vote for me. First of all, I'm the most experienced, over 35 years of corporate business experience combined with technical skills. In IBM, I manage a team of 300 people, sales, service, and administrative personnel, while managing a budget of $200 million. I have worked with the BSO, as I said before, in Weston, with the Citizen Observation Patrol, supporting local police in keeping the city safe. Also, I have volunteered at the Cleveland Clinic, providing information and guidance to patients. The satisfaction that I have derived from this job is what have made me go into take the next step to have more satisfaction by dedicating myself totally, full-time, not partially, to give to the city of Weston and running for commissioner. To call Weston, the third one is, as retired, I can be full-time, as I said, but this is the third reason why you should vote for me. I'm totally retired and I can dedicate my full time to the city commission. In my experience, the number 4, with companies like Ericsson, I have traveled throughout most of Latin America. I was one in charge of the Latin American region. And what the advantage with that is that you get to learn about different groups and different ethnicities. You know that Weston has probably one of the most diverse ethnic group, with 50% of the population falling in that category. And 5, the most, if you haven't detected by the accent, I speak hablo español. Y por eso yo pido el voto de todos, el soporte y el apoyo de que voten por mí, para mantener Weston siendo ser orgullosos de poderlo llamar home. And as I said, I speak Spanish, and I ask for your vote and your support so that we can all share in calling Weston and being proud to call home. I support the safety and being the secure place in Weston. I support the low property taxes. I support the high values. I'm against overdevelopment, but I'm pro sustainable economic development. So that's why I'm here asking for your vote and giving you the 5 reasons why I should be elected as a next commissioner. Thank you. And thank you for your time.
Mr. Eddy.
Thank you. Thanks again for hosting this evening. My wife, Ann, and I moved up to Weston from Coral Gables back in 2009, and with my son, Ryan, and my daughter Megan. And we moved here for a lot of the same reasons that everybody else does: the great schools, the safety, the security, the fiscal responsibility of the government. And we need to not only maintain those, but improve upon them. These are serious times, and this calls for people with experience and judgment and wisdom to enter the political realm. I don't have a political background. I'm not connected to any political party. Been an independent thinker since I was a young lieutenant. And as I've been walking the streets of Weston and talking to the business owners, I think that's what people want. They want somebody that's going to represent the people of Weston and not outside interests or outside parties. I was not maybe two people out of the thousands, hundreds and hundreds, maybe 1,000 people I've met have asked what political party I was most affiliated with. I was very heartened when I was walking one neighborhood and came across a young woman named Eugenia who just got her citizenship about a month ago. And I got there right at the time she opened her mailbox and received her voter registration card. It was very heartening to see the joy in her face of being able to participate in the democratic process. Now, 3 priorities: obviously safety and security, but also rezoning. We haven't talked much about that, but what went on in Bonaventure area with those towers, 5 towers, 150 feet tall going up, was, in my view, just a travesty. The zoning was approved 4 years ago to allow 150-foot towers in Weston, and Bonaventure Resort was just approved for that about a month ago. Now, I was walking Bonaventure area shortly after that vote, and I came across Lewis, who said, frankly, that the day after that vote, him and his wife decided to put their house on the market and move to Naples, because in his words, he didn't want to open his door and have to look at towers all day. I met another gentleman from Bonaventure who said as soon as his daughter graduates from Cyprus next year, they're leaving too. What was most concerning was the 20 to 30 people I met in Bonaventure that didn't know anything about it. Everybody's got their head down, they're working 1, 2, 3 jobs, supporting a family. They don't have time to go over commission meeting minutes. It's incumbent upon us with our judgment to represent these people. We don't need 150-foot towers all throughout Weston. So that's one of my priorities, is to relook at that zoning guidance to make sure our permitting process is more efficient. These businesses say they have to undergo continual improvement to stay in business. Why doesn't our government have to do that? So we need to take a serious look at how we do permit process. And as I mentioned, the business development manager to help expedite the permitting process, be that touch point for these businesses that are out there and to help attract new businesses. So I ask for your vote on November 3rd, or early voting, or even absentee voting, which is out now. If you like what you hear, you can go to eddieforweston.org or my Facebook page, Eddie for Weston. And once again, thanks to my colleagues for being here tonight. Thanks to you for hosting it. And I look forward to seeing everyone at the polls on November 3rd.
Thank you very much. Mr. ZAUDER.
Thank you again for having us. I hope this has been, I feel like we're the undercard before the presidential debate tonight. So thank you so much. It's been a wonderful campaign. I mean, I love, I've been really involved at my kids' school. They both go to Gator Run here. And I've loved volunteering. I'm involved with the Rotary Club, with several organizations here, and just running for office has led me to meet so many wonderful business owners, other nonprofit leaders here, everyday folks around Weston. And I love Weston. I'm from South Florida, grew up here. My family decided to put down roots here because these wonderful schools, the high quality of life, but mostly just the friendly, welcoming people that come from all over the world to live here. My campaign is all about putting Weston residents first. So what that means to me is upholding public safety. I'll be working hand in hand with BSO to make sure that we remain the safest city in the country. I've been endorsed by the Police Benevolent Association, the professional firefighters, and they know that I'm ready on day one to be the commissioner that will keep people safe. 2, education is obviously important to me. We have these wonderful A+ schools. I know I've been involved there. I fully support having our SROs in all of these schools. To take our schools to the next level, though, I would like to see Weston have an education advisory board. Many other cities around Broward have these boards. Obviously, the school board is still the authority over our schools, but since our schools are so important, such a major driver of our high property values here, an education advisory board would be a wonderful avenue for our parents to have more say in what's going on in Weston schools. I firmly believe that all Weston schools are for Weston families. And then third, as an accountant and business advisor, economics is always at the forefront of my mind. And again, I've talked about the availability of federal CARES Act funding. I think the city has been rather complacent in not drawing down funds as it should be. To take it even further, I was listening, I'm sure a lot of people here were listening to the mayors talk to you about before we got on. And our state rep, Rick Stark, told me the other day that he's been in office 8 years. And in those 8 years in Tallahassee, Southwest Ranches, Pembroke Pines, they come to him with appropriations requests. In his 8 years in office, Weston has come with 0 appropriation requests. I can assure you, as city commissioner, I will leave no stone unturned. If there's an appropriations request, I will be bugging our state rep constantly to make sure we are getting any and all state money that is available to us. So economics is certainly always on the forefront of my mind. I want to make sure that we're maintaining the lowest millage rate. I want to keep our taxes low while maintaining the high quality services that makes Weston such a #1 city. So I want to wrap up just again by thanking the Chamber for having us, thanking Chris and Papa for a wonderful discussion. I want to encourage everyone to go to my website. You can see how my name is spelled up there, jasonzauder.com. You can find me on Facebook. My campaign is really built by volunteers. It's built by people. I'm lucky, I'm very fortunate to have the endorsement of Broward County Property Appraiser Marty Keir, Broward County Commissioner Nan Rich, 2 sitting school board members, and a host of others I won't get into, but this campaign is all about the people. So people go to my website, make a contribution if you can, but I'd love to have you join my team of volunteers. Thank you.
We don't want to thank all of the candidates for being with us today. This has been a program of the Weston, Florida Chamber of Commerce, the Miramar Pembroke Pines Regional Chamber of Commerce, and the Pembroke Park West Park Chamber of Commerce, and the business partnership of Davie Cooper City. Again, thank you. If you want more information on any of the candidates running for any of the other offices, please check out our YouTube page. All of our videos of our other Meet the Candidates forums are held there. With that, please make sure to vote by November 3rd, whether it be early voting, absentee, or at the ballots on November 3rd. On behalf of the Chamber and the business partnership, we want to thank everybody for being here today.
Thanks for your time.
The next Meet the Candidates will be in 5 minutes.
Thanks all.